Faith in God is reasonable. Hi, welcome back to another one of our Director's Cuts here at Regal Heights Church. We're glad that you're with us here today. We've been going through the book of Hebrews, and we've landed in chapter 12 last Sunday, and a few kind of interesting items that I'd like to share with you that didn't make it to the message on Sunday, which you can scroll back to listen to. But out of that, I'd like to point out kind of like we talk about faith in this being the faith chapter, and kind of like the Hall of Heroes as well. But in the first century, we learned that the book of Hebrews is originally written to Jews who had become Christians and were thinking about going back because of persecution and other things. And so the whole argument is led that we need to live by faith, that the new covenant is superior than the old covenant, and that you can learn all about that in chapters past if you don't understand that. But what is interesting is that these were people who were Greek-speaking Jews. And that means they were Jews who were spread all over, who would have been well immersed in the Greco-Roman culture at the time, which was quite pagan and quite different. Now, what is also interesting is that the Greek philosophers thought that faith was silly, that they thought that faith was an inferior way of thinking. So when we look at things through a faith perspective, you know how I often say, like, keep heaven on your mind when you're seeing things, look at things as if God was seeing them. They would see that as an inferior way of thinking. And the reason is because they thought being religious or mystical, that it wouldn't be based upon reason and philosophy, which is what they championed. You can think of like all the great orators like Socrates or Plato or whoever. They like to reason things out and make sure it was logical. But you know what? There's a lot of things that they thought were logical then that are completely absurd. I could go on a list, but I'll just leave that with you here right now. So the question is that reason and logic is based upon facts. And God has always been a factual God with us. He said that He created the world out of nothing, and we learned on Sunday that proves to be true even scientifically, and that's the only plausible way for the universe to be here. But yet that we have a supernatural aspect to our faith. So God explains things in earthly ways, and He explains things in supernatural ways. And our faith is a combination of reason and of the supernatural. So there is nothing in our faith that is in a way that is just arbitrary. Sometimes people think that by being spiritual, you're one way this minute and that way the next. No, we need to be consistent. Consistent with what we see in the world around us as we see it through God's eyes, because He is the creator. Think about it. If God made everything, then He knows how it works. So when He tells us how it works, then we can have some logic and reasoning about why things are the way they are. But case in point, that's not it. See, this is where the philosophers would have gotten it wrong, is thinking only on earthly terms. But there's a whole spiritual realm out there as well, too, that we need to be concerned about with. And God is also equally blunt about it and what we should do and what we shouldn't do. Now, of course, God is not exhaustive in any of that teaching on heavenly things. Why? Because God is infinite, and our finite body would never be able to absorb all that information. So He gives us what we need to know, when we need to know, and it is logical, it is reasonable, and it is faithful. Well, thank you for tuning in. I hope this helps you to realize that your faith, having confidence in God, is not arbitrary, but based upon objective facts and supernatural realities. Thank you for tuning in, and God bless you. Have a great day.